What's doing, everybody? Welcome to episode 749 of First Class Fatherhood. I'm happy and honored, as always, to be here with you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I got a tremendous guest to bring you guys today. Legendary actor Steve Guttenberg joins me on the podcast today, and this is going to be a very unique interview, one that I haven't done ever before on First Class Fatherhood. This is not going to be about Steve Guttenberg's fatherhood journey. Steve Guttenberg doesn't have any kids. He's not a father. This episode is going to focus on Steve Guttenberg putting his life on pause, his career on pause, when he found out that his father had kidney failure and for 5 years became his caretaker. He wrote a new book about this. It's called Time to Thank, Caregiving for My Hero. All right, now Steve Guttenberg, obviously very, very famous actor. You know him from Police Academy, Cocoon, 3 Men and a Baby, Short Circuit. He's a legendary film actor. But what he's about to talk about here and what he talks about in his book is very important. I know a lot of you dads out there have already gone through this like I did. And some of you may be on the onset of having to take care of your father. Now, for me, it's been more than 20 years ago since both of my parents passed away. They passed away 4 months from one another. My mom died in October, and my father died in that February, 4 months later. And in those 4 months, it was the most difficult, challenging part of my life because still grieving from the loss of my mother. My father never went back to work again. He was a used car salesman, worked his entire life. From the day my mother died, he never went back to work. He completely gave up on life, and it was a very, very hard 4 months of taking care of him, being there for him, and then when he went into the hospital, having to do things that I would never like to really think about or get into that are very uncomfortable and a part of life that we have to face and we have to deal with. Some people hire caretakers, and God bless them to do that. But a lot of you guys have had to do this for your mom or for your dad. So we're going to talk about that today. It's a very, very important topic, something I haven't gotten into on First Class Fatherhood. So 749 episodes in, and it's about time we had a discussion about caretaking for our parents. So Steve Guttenberg is the best person to do this. He's got the new book out, Time to Thank, Caregiving for My Hero. The link to the book is down there in the description below. Father's Day is right around the corner. It's going to make a great gift for any dad on your list. So get one for your dad. Get one for anybody in your family. The link is down there below, and Steve Guttenberg is going to be here with me in just a few minutes, so please stick around for the interview. And you guys know I've had a lot of actors on the podcast here, so go through the archives and check out many of the other acting dads that have joined me here on the show. You guys know about the Matthew McConaughey's and the Andrew McCarthy and so many others. So please go through the archives, check them all out. And if you guys are looking to take your father out to a ball game for Father's Day, get your tickets on SeatGeek.com or use the SeatGeek app. Plug in the promo code FIRSTCLASS, that's one word, and you will save $20 on your tickets. All right, so let's do this. As always, please help me spread the word about today's podcast. Every father in your neighborhood or in your contact list, let them know about the show that's here celebrating fatherhood and family life. You guys know it. Every day is Father's Day right here on the podcast. Here comes my interview straight up with Steve Guttenberg on First Class Fatherhood.
First Class Fatherhood. That is where Alec Lace comes in with his popular podcast.
And one of the most interesting was on a podcast.
Alec Lace interviews high-profile fathers from actors to NFL players with a vision to change the narrative of fatherhood and family life.
Joining me now, Steve Guttenberg. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thanks. I really appreciate being here. I'm looking forward to talking to you today.
Well, I'm honored to have you on. We're going to touch on something that I really don't get too much into, and you cover it so much in your new book. But just before we get into that, for the people who don't know, take a second to hit them with a little bit about your background, what you do.
Well, I'm an actor and been doing it for many years. Enjoyed being in the business, and I'm a painter, and I'm a writer, and I'm a producer, and I'm a great son and a great brother, a great friend, great citizen, I think. And I've written a new book that I wanted to talk to you about, which is called Time to Thank. And it's about caregiving, basically, and it's about caregiving for my dad. So that's what I'd like to talk to you about today.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I don't get into enough on this show, Steve. And you know, my father passed away when I was in my early 20s. Both of my parents did. My father passed away about four months to the day. Yeah, this is over before I met my wife, before I became a dad. So this is over 20 years ago now. And it had such, an impact on me. Now, one of the blessings, I guess I would say in there is that it was only a 4-month period where, my brother, myself, my sister, we were taking care of my father who pretty much gave up on life the moment that my mom passed away. And so that 4 month period was a nightmare. I can only imagine what it's like for people that have an extended period of time of caretaking for their parents, because it's such a difficult task, especially to watch the person you've admired your whole life start to wither away, and you see him at his weakest point. So it's very difficult. So talk to me a little bit about that process of from when you first, got into taking care of your father when he first got sick all the way to the end there.
Yeah, you hit it on the nose that somebody who you admired in his strength and his leadership, um, the machine starts to wither. It's very, very difficult to see. And you can't show that to that person. And the book that I wrote, Time to Thank, basically talks about that. When we were young, my dad helped me put on my pajamas, and he helped me learn how to shower, how to shave, how to drive, and he would drive me places. And then when my dad got older, I had to shave him, and I got to shave him, and I got to help him in the shower, and I got to help him put on his pajamas, and I got to drive him places. But it's a very shocking and disturbing part of life where you realize this person you love so much, and admire so much needs your help now. And you hit it right on the money. I mean, right on the money.
It is one of the most awkward things I've ever done in my life was have to change my father. And it's something that never in a million years do you think about would ever happen. But when it happens, it's kind of like you're like, I can't believe that I'm doing this right now. And it's
Can't
very
believe it,
difficult to process while you're in the middle of it. And again, like I said, mine
isn't
was
it?
for a short period of time. And I knew, a lot of stuff has to go on hold. It seems like at that time, the whole world kind of freezes for you, but everybody else, it's still going on. Like everything is like, oh, I got to get to the bakery, I got to go here. Like, and for you, for me, and in that moment, it was like, what are you doing? Like, my whole life, like, just was on pause, and it was like this was the only focus. But it seemed like for everybody else, the world just kept moving on.
You hit it right on the money. It's exactly that. That your focus, because it has to be. You're in a crisis, and when you're in a crisis, all hands on deck, and everything else that was going on, painting the house and writing the letter and returning the phone call and going to the store and exercising or eating well or socializing, that all stops. And that's what I wanted to write this book, because it's about caregiving. It's exactly what you did. There are 53 million caregivers in our country. There are 350 million people. Probably 180 million of them are adults. So if you do the math, there's maybe 25% of all adults are caregivers in some way. You were a caregiver to your dad. I was a caregiver to my dad. And plenty of people are caregiving for their children, their mothers, their fathers, their aunts, their uncles. And there are people who are paid to be caregivers. It's a very lonely profession. As you know, you were sitting in a room with your dad, just looking at him and waiting for him to need something, or to make sure that he's okay, or to figure out what time he has to eat or what time he has to sleep, and looking after him and making sure he's entertained and making sure that he's getting what he needs at that very moment. So everything else, whether it's the newspaper, television, you're just not keeping up on life. Life absolutely freezes. So I wanted to write this book to tell other caregivers what we're talking about. See, I lit up when you told me what you're telling me right now. I lit up because you know everything that's going on, and very few people know that, and are able to um, uh, um, get relate to it, because there are people that say, "Oh, I know who that person is. I know I've heard about caregiving." But unless you're a caregiver and you're very alone doing it, um, you don't know the pain. And it's very painful to be a caregiver. As you know, you had to change your dad. You had to help him in the bathroom. You had to brush his teeth with him, shave him. Really, really difficult to do those things. So um, I wanted to write this book to do exactly what you and I are doing, to to not commiserate, but to say to someone else, I know how it is. You're not alone. You weren't the only one on the planet doing this. And because we're not a group, because it's not a community effort, because it's not a class where you have other people in it, mostly caregivers are alone. So it's great to express this, and it's so great to exchange this with you, because when I do find somebody who was a caregiver and explains it the way you did just now, it was like you were in my room with my dad.
Yeah, and a time to thank Caregiving for My Hero. I got the link to the book down there in the description below. I encourage all the listeners to go and grab a copy. And one of the things that's interesting, Steve, is I interview so many different people from so many different backgrounds and cultures. A lot of other cultures all outside of the United States, a lot of them are kind of perplexed by our idea of family, where it's like normally we raise our kids till they're 18, then they leave the house, they go out and go on and do their own. They're expected to just leave the house and go and have their own lives. Where in a lot of other cultures around the world, the family unit stays together and the kids always stay in the house or like stay close in the neighborhood with the parents, raise them the whole way, and then they take care of the parent. Like it's almost expected in some other cultures to be taking care of your parents. Where here, a lot of times it's put them in the home, have somebody else go and do it, and they don't have that kind of unity. We don't have that kind of unity as they do elsewhere in the world.
Exactly. But I have to respect the people who can't do it, who aren't able to do it, who don't have the time to do it, who don't want to do it, who don't want to see what they're going to have to see. I respect them and I understand them. But then there are those of us who say, no, my dad or my mom or my child or my friend is not going in a home. They're going to stay with me and I'm going to take care of them. And they're going to wake up in the middle of the night and they're going to see my face. And that's a very, very important part of life. It's very, very, it's, it's a duty to an extent. And when you have a duty, you've got to do it. And I felt it as a duty. And, my dad would always say, don't walk a mile for someone who won't cross the street for you, but walk 10,000 miles through a hurricane for 1 minute with someone you love.
Yeah, wow.
And I'm sure you understand that.
Yeah, really, really well said, Steve. And just on it, I mean, this is doing it for our father. I can't imagine, the people that do this for people that they don't even know, for strangers. You have caretakers that are doing this for people that they have, no connection to. And God bless those people. And thank God we have so many of them willing to step up and do those jobs. Because they're vitally important for especially for the elderly. I want to take it back though, if I could, Steve. Again, time to thank Caregiving for My Hero. The link is down there in the description below. Take me back then, kind of to the beginning of this journey for yourself. I know you left the house yourself as a teenager to head out to Hollywood, become a Hollywood superstar. What was your relationship like with your dad during that period from after high school to Hollywood fame? What was that period like?
My dad supported me enormously. Now, both my mom and dad weren't thrilled that I was going to become an actor, but who would be? You know, um, it's a very, very tough profession. But they said to me, I left home at 17, and they said, you've got 2 weeks to become a movie star. And if it doesn't happen, you come back and you go to college. And I was okay with that. So I took those 2 weeks and I really hustled my ass off. And it became a year. And my dad would call me every morning at 6 a.m. I stayed with a family friend who was my godfather. And, during the day and at night, I was out on my own. But at night, I had someplace safe to come. But every morning, 6 a.m., he would call me and he would say, get up and let's go. Let's hit the pavement. And I was very lucky. I got commercials and I got a few movies and I did really well. But I found myself out in Hollywood so lonely. Just the culture of being a young actor, it's it's brutal. It's brutal. I mean, you meet friends and you become friends with people, but it's very competitive. And I found the culture out here to be quite difficult. So I left after a year and I went to Albany State University. And my parents supported me there too. And then I got another call about 5, 6 months into my time up in Albany State to do a movie overseas called The Boys from Brazil with Laurence Olivier and Gregory Peck. And I took the bait and I went, and then I got more jobs and I never went back. But my father loved the Hollywood glamour of it and the fun of it. He didn't love the pain that I went through, the rejection, the loneliness, the um, the self doubt, the self esteem issues when you're an actor. I like you. I don't like you. I like the other guy. You really don't go through that as much as a civilian. It's about, I sold pots and pans or I didn't. But you don't go through these strange mind games. But my dad always supported me, said I was the greatest. There was a song by by oh two people who used to be in the fifth dimension, and it was "You Don't Have to Be a Star," and it was all of the song. The lyrics were "You don't have to be a star for me to love you," and he would play that song for me all the time and say, "You don't have to be a star for me to love you, or all your family and friends to love you." He would say that he sang this song, Billy Joel song, "Just the Way You Are," and he would sing that to me, and he would play that, and he'd say, in Hollywood, you know, it, it, it's about who you look like and what you sound like, and obviously if you can act, but within the family and your family and friends who care about you, they like you just the way you are. You don't have to be a movie star. So my dad always kept that in me, and I still have that in me, about the values of what kind of person you want to be. Not that I don't compare myself and, compare and despair. It's not a good thing to do. But, in my business, that happens. You look at another actor and you'll think, wow, why is he getting that part? But you have to be careful of those, those words, that language. It's very dangerous.
Well, one of the things that you didn't have when you were coming along that we have now is social media, where social media now creates this kind of world where people are comparing themselves to other people. And it looks like everybody else's life is better than your life when you're looking on
Yeah.
Instagram and you're looking on
Yeah.
Facebook. And that could create a lot of self doubt, a lot of depression for a lot of people.
Yes.
But it could also help to get yourself noticed in a way that wasn't available when you were coming along. So people are getting discovered because of some of this stuff. So, what kind of advice would you have to a young guy, young girl that's looking to get into Hollywood? I think the paths are a lot different, in 2024 than they were when you were coming onto the scene. But which way would you try to steer, or parents that may be listening that have kids interested in acting?
One of the best advice I ever heard was from Steve Martin, who said, just be so great that they cannot ignore you. Just be so talented and so great at what you do that you will be noticed. It beats cocktail parties and social media and everything, is just be really good. So what I say to young actors is read voraciously, read as many of the great books as you can, learn, be smart. Directors want smart actors. Be intelligent about your choices. Make sure you're spending time with the right people. Go to class, learn, take acting classes, diction classes, dance classes. Make yourself the best you can be. Don't buy into social media of beauty or one shots, doing something fantastic on some social media and you'll get a million hits. What you want to be is a long playing hit. You want to be great at what you do. Be so great, like Steve Martin said, that you got to be noticed. That's what it's about. That's
Yeah, great,
really what it's all about.
great stuff, Steve. Did your father have a favorite picture, a favorite movie that you were in? Was there one that he really enjoyed? And how was he like? Did he go to the movie premieres? Did he eat all that stuff up with a spoon? But that, and what was his favorite?
Well, here's a photo right here on the book. And let me see if I can zoom in on it. Let's see, right there. My dad and I were, I was just coming off one of my first movies, which was a movie called Diner. And he just got so much joy from the success of that movie because it was not only did respectfully in respectably in the box office. It got wonderful reviews. So he really enjoyed that movie, but he didn't have a favorite. Like I don't have a favorite movie. They're all great and they're all such an incredible opportunity. If you're an actor and you get to be noticed by the world and you get a piece of art that goes to every country in the world and people know about it. And you walk into, but the greatest part of fame, and my father taught me this, the best part of being famous is sharing it. It's not that I'm famous, it's that if my mom calls for a doctor appointment and they realize that I'm her son, she'll get in a little quicker. If my mom and dad call up for when my dad was alive, of course, call up for a restaurant reservation and they know the last name and they know me, they get ahead. You know, the fun of someone finding out that I'm their son or their brother or their friend, that's the best part of fame. The best part of fame is if you go to a party and you get a swag bag full of all these goodies and coupons and iPhones and golf clubs, you can give it to your family and friends. You can invite them to go to a great Knick game with you and get awesome seats because of you. That's the best part of being famous.
Yeah, amazing. I'm sure the pride they must have felt, for that and being able to say, "Oh, my son got me this," or it's an amazing gift to be able to give your parents and your family members as well. And I know you did the play. You have the play Tales from the Guttenberg Bible. Do you get into? I know it's your whole story there. Do you get into the relationship with your father, his sickness, the whole bit?
No, not well. At the very end, I talk about him being sick, but the play really is about me coming out at 17 years old and meeting this cast of characters in Hollywood, which are so funny and so interesting. And my mom and dad are in the play throughout the play, how they guided me, how they gave me great advice, how they grounded me, how they taught me that at any time, if you want, you can take your marbles and go home. You don't need to stay in it, and that's a really great value system, I think, for anybody in any of the arts. That if the culture gets too much, you've got to know that you can always go somewhere else. You don't have to be in a first class city. You can do your art in other cities. My dad would always say between New York and LA, there are 300 million people living happy lives. And, there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, I agree. It's time to thank Caregiving for my hero. I got the link to the book down there in the description
Yeah.
below. And one of the things I realized too is there it is. And I got the description down there. One of the things I realized is I have 4 kids and they've never seen Police Academy. Now they've seen 3 Men and a Baby. They've seen some of the other. I said, man, I didn't realize you guys never see it. So this weekend we're going to do a binge and we're going to go through the Police Academy series because I'm doing this one today. So it's awesome to get a chance to share these things, especially with
Uh,
my kids and a chance to watch them all because that is a classic.
yeah. Thanks so much, man. Thanks for showing it to the kids. Where are you out of? What city?
I'm in Jersey. We're down in Monmouth County in Jersey here.
Oh, my sister lives in Scotch Plains, Fanwood area.
Awesome. Yeah, we moved down here from the Bayonne, Jersey City area.
Oh, really? Wow. Wow.
Yep.
So, I love Jersey. Jersey's a great place.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. So last thing I want to hit you with here, Steve. You got the book Time to Thank Caregiving for My Hero. What kind of advice would you have to anybody out there that's listening that's just on the onset of having to take care of their parent or their loved one? They're just at the beginning of this stage here. They're just heading into it.
I would say to remember that you're going to make a difference in their life. That's what you're there for. You're going to make a difference in their day. You're going to make a difference when they need water, when they need an ice cube, when they can't sleep at night, when they need to eat, when they need to shower, when they need to go to the bathroom. When they look up and they open their eyes and there you are. It is like them seeing the cavalry coming in. It is like being on a deserted island and there is a cruise ship coming to save you. You are their everything. And you will every day be blessed by God and be given strength by God to get through it. You will. You're not alone. God is with you. Your ancestors are with you. Other caregivers are with you. Everybody is with you. It is going to be difficult and heartbreaking, and your anxiety and your mind will play tricks on you. But remember, you're doing something that when you look in your loved one's eyes, and even people who are not related and are hired, they fall in love with the people that they're taking care of because the people are so vulnerable and so pure. And you will, and my advice is, you will be making such a difference in their life that you will forever be blessed by God, and you're doing a good thing. Hold on, be strong, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to break down. It's okay to feel that you can't do this anymore. That's natural, but you'll always be able to stand up and go another day because you're making their life a little bit easier.
Yeah, very well said. Powerful message. Time to thank Caregiving for my hero. No doubt you had a first-class father. He raised a first-class son. Steve Guttenberg, thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time today on First Class Fatherhood.
Really appreciate being on I'm being on your show. You're terrific, and you're a really special guy. Thanks a lot.
Alec Lace has interviewed more than 700 dads on his award-winning podcast, First Class Fatherhood. Dads from all walks of life, including Tom Brady, Deion Sanders, Matthew McConaughey, Steve Harvey, Tony Hawk, Eric Trump, and so many more. Find out why First Class Fatherhood has been #1 on the iTunes charts. Who these men are as fathers and how they raise their children is far more important than anything they accomplish in their careers. Alec Lace encourages his high-profile guests to share their fatherhood journeys and offer advice to new and soon-to-be dads. Let every father in your contact list know about First Class Fatherhood. Available wherever you get your podcasts. Every day is Father's Day on First Class Fatherhood.